ask for justice.
Let's talk a little bit about coming into this season where your characters are they in peril? We're going to do a little bit of a preview.
End of last season was the angel flight. June kind of wants to go sacrifice herself and her friends don't let her. June has been shot. We're walking through the woods. We're trying to get to a safe house. Emotionally, I think Janine is just like, what the hell is going on? Just trying to stay alive. They're in survival mode.
June is hurt. She is on the lam. Has she basically been like, this might be the end?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think she expected to not be alive last season. I think when she's speaking to Commander Lawrence in the dining room and she's got the gun on the table, I think she's speaking about being suicidal. She thinks she's not going to make it and she's ready to accept that. So I think at the top of the season, we have somebody who is not prepared to be alive. She doesn't have a plan past getting those kids out. She can't go back to the Lawrence house. She doesn't know where to go. These women are now, who have saved her life, she's now beholden to them. She wants to protect them. They also expect her to lead a resistance.
We're the ones we've been waiting for.
And so I think we have somebody who is in an entirely new location, an entirely new place, and needs to figure out what she's going to do next. And there is another character, Mrs. Keys, played by McKenna Grace, who comes into her life, and she's not looking to her to be the answer. And it becomes the answer.
Are you fearing for your lives at the beginning of the season?
Yes. Yes, I am.
Bradley's fearing for his life and in need of a shave.
Always. Yeah. It's a tough beginning for J-Law.
You can't save her. You understand that, right? Some women don't want to be saved.
How about Nick? Let's talk about him at the beginning of the season for a minute. He's very much into the commander role and what it can do for him, it seems to me. Tell me about him a little bit.
Nick is infatuated with this woman, even though he is entrenched in this sort of miserable political structure. I think he's always angling to figure out how to use that to June's advantage.
Luke is in Canada. Where is he at mentally and emotionally in terms of like what he knows, what he doesn't know, where his hope level is at as we come in?
The question of hope for Luke is kind of central because he only has straws to go on in terms of knowing how things are going with June and his daughter. And so I think it vacillates. And sometimes you see him putting on a brave face, and sometimes he really does feel brave, and other times he has really strong doubts. And I sometimes think, that uncertainty, that lack of knowledge, oftentimes we fill it with our darkest thoughts, and that happens with Luke.
Let's remind people where Mr. Tuello is as we come into the season. He has the Waterfords in custody, right?
Yes.
And
he thinks he's got Fred in a good position to negotiate with him. But Fred, at the end of season 3, has spilled the beans and kind of thrown his wife under the bus by explaining that she was a part of June Osborne's rape. It's a very complex spot that he's in to start season 4, navigating these two very dynamic personalities.
Tell us a little bit about where Fred is at the start of this season, both physically and kind of emotionally.
He's surviving. He's a rat on a sinking ship, and it's looking pretty bad for both the Waterfords, more so for Fred, and he'll have to face the truth. I think there's a part of Fred where he's always been cognizant to a degree of the hurt and pain that he and the regime brought upon the people closest to him. Like predators of his type, he rationalizes the truth to suit his own narrative. And that's what I find kind of fascinating about him, and makes him evil, but in a human and more compelling way, a more frightening way, because that's what people like Fred do. They twist the truth and end up blaming the victims. And that's what he does because he's weak.
She has eluded your soldiers for 19 days. Find her and bring her to me.
Coming into the action, she seems to be doing well, feeling pretty good, right? Recovered from any injuries she may have had. Where is she mentally and emotionally as we come into this season?
The grief at having allowed, even though she sensed something was wrong, they're up to something, these girls. I can see it. in the way they would slightly look across the street, or they would have little tiny communications instead of really following through on it. She didn't pull it off. She didn't catch them. And I think that's a huge thorn in her side, huge. And I knew that Lawrence, not paying attention, busy insulting me when I get him, schmuck. And just not watching June. I know June. I know what she's up to something. But that it turned into that and they were successful. I just think she suffers over that tremendously. And then, of course, she's tortured, right. And doesn't know if she's going to even live, really.
This season is very much about what freedom means to the different characters. And I think what it means to Emily is that she's free to love, to not be enslaved, to have authentic choices in her life. When we find her, she's very much still trying to process, all the trauma that she's been through in different ways, trying to place all the children that were rescued last season into new homes in order to begin to rebuild their lives. So knowing firsthand, that experience, that's, I think, the first place that Emily finds a real purpose and a really healthy distraction from, her personal healing journey that is constant.
It is a nomadic season. It is one of journey. And I think that separates it more from the past than any other year we've done.
The show really is The Handmaid's Tale, and it's really June's point of view. And her point of view is exploding this season. Things that she's just heard about, she's witnessing. Places that she's never imagined would exist. Liminal spaces all around Gilead are being exposed to her. And the curtain is being pulled back and you think, oh, finally. And then it's like, oh, crap. It's like it doesn't matter if the curtain is pulled back if there's still horrible things behind the curtain.